Now my pleasure to introduce a very special young woman, Danielle Abuham.
Good afternoon. If my life were an album, I'd call it Scar Tissue and Sunlight, because that is what it was. The breaking and the healing. There was a time in my life where our home didn't feel safe. We experienced domestic violence, and more recently I was told about things happening behind closed doors that no one should ever have to carry. All because we loved someone struggling with addiction. Leaving wasn't one brave moment, it was a series of small, painful decisions. Not because I didn't want better, but fearing the weight of the unknown was so overwhelming. My girls experienced things that no child should ever have to witness, and that sat heavy on my heart. I knew I didn't want them growing up thinking that that was normal. One night, sitting on my kitchen floor, completely overwhelmed, the kids in bed, everything was quiet, there was no plan. There was truth, silence, and the weight of everything we had just walked away from. I remember thinking, how am I going to do this? I didn't feel strong. I felt terrified. And looking back now, it was the moment that changed everything. It was the first time I was choosing a different future, not only for my girls, but for myself. Rebuilding didn't start with a plan. It started with late nights turning pain into poetry and poetry into lyrics because I didn't know how else to process what I had just been through. And song by song, I started telling my story, turning my pain into something I could finally hold, something I could actually release. And that's exactly what I did. My album is called Scar Tissue and Sunlight, because that is exactly what it was, the breaking and the healing. There were nights I didn't have words, only a scream. Nights I felt myself fading high, disappearing into oblivion, and somehow I learned what it meant to love you from afar, while protecting the smallest little light inside of me. And for a long time, that light felt like it wasn't enough, but it was. And slowly, quietly, it led me back to sunlight. And I didn't realize it at first, but I was becoming finally free. Not perfect, not untouched, but standing. Still here, still choosing to rise under the oak tree. Understanding that everything that tried to break me, every moment that didn't make sense was where it all began to collide and become something new. And somewhere in that process, I started searching for something deeper. My girls and I began going to church every Sunday, Bible study every Wednesday, not because I had everything figured out, but because I didn't. I was searching for peace, direction, and something steady to hold on to. And our faith became a huge part of my healing. It gave me strength and hope on days that felt heavy, and eventually I chose to be baptized. Not as a perfect person, but as someone choosing a new beginning. But that same need to create, to bring comfort out of chaos, grew into something that I could have ever imagined. The name Dame Heart is not just music. It became my business, Dame Heart LLC. In the beginning, I hope of something even greater, the Dame Heart Foundation. We are built on the belief that no one should ever have to carry trauma alone. We support men, women, children, and veterans navigating the lasting impact of domestic violence, abuse, PTSD, and trauma, the kind that you don't always see. We understand that healing isn't simple. It takes time, it takes safety, it takes support, and sometimes it just takes someone reminding you that you're not alone. that's what Damed Heart is about. Creating a safe space for healing, helping people find their voices again, walking alongside them as they rebuild. And along the way, I learned something I didn't expect. I used to think strength meant doing everything on my own, holding it together no matter what. But now I know strength looks like accepting help. It looks like community. It looks like organizations like the Salvation Army, along with some others in this room. I'm gonna start crying. Continuing to show up in life's hardest moments and reminding people that they are not alone. Today my life isn't perfect. I'm still growing, I'm still learning, I'm still rebuilding in many ways. But I'm no longer broken and surviving. I'm becoming and building something for my children, for myself, and for others who might be where I once was. Because what my children experience will not be the legacy they will ever have to carry forward. What tried to break us became the very place that God began to rebuild us. My children will not grow up remembering how we were broken, but experiencing how we rose again. And that's why what you do here matters. Because there's a mother, father, child, veteran, sitting in silence right now, waiting for someone to show up. So keep showing up. Keep serving. Keep being the reason that someone finds hope again. And if you feel called to give, know that your support to the Salvation Army becomes a part of someone's healing story. Because when you do, you're not just helping them get through a moment, you're helping them rebuild their life again. And now, to be able to give back to an organization that helped my family and so many others survive their hardest moments means more to me than I can ever put into words. Once upon a time, I was that person, praying that someone would show up. And today, through this check, I get to be a part of someone else's healing story. But to help make this all possible, I raffled off my +1 for today's luncheon gala, which says a lot about the community because only one ticket was purchased. It was all donations. It showed people's generosity, kindness, and support in many ways that I will never forget. So if Audrey from the Winston Salvation Army, where this all became possible, would come up, please. I'd be honored if you would accept this check. Not only from Damed Heart LLC, but from every single community member that made this donation possible. Make sure there's no tears.